In the last 3 days, I have quit using Copilot. And so I'm actually kind of like freshly on this is the reasons why I'm not using Copilot kind of train right now. And this video feels very apt, if you will, okay? And so we should do it. I think we should do this.
The reason I'm no longer using Copilot actually starts out rather simple. Recently, I decided to redo my NeoVim config from scratch. And in doing...
Why is my computer acting like it's on 0 speed? Look at this. It thinks it's full screen, but I also have this. What the hell was even this? Okay. By the way, it's too accelerated. Dude, computer's drunk. I'm not sure what's happening
The
here.
reason I'm no longer using Copilot actually starts out rather simple. Recently, I decided to redo my NeoVim config from scratch.
This is hilarious because the reason why I'm no longer using Copilot is because I got a brand new computer, which we're using right now, and I redid my NeoVim stuff, and I redid all my stuff, and I just forgot to sign into Copilot. I just forgot to sign in. Like, that's it. Just didn't sign in, so now, look at me. I now don't have Copilot.
Scratch. And in doing so, well, I forgot to add Copilot back in. If I...
Let's go. I like that we almost have the same reason. It's like we're very similar reason. Both NeoVim
had remembered, I'd probably still be using it. However, I'm not. Both my editor and code have been Copilot free for about a month now, and I have no intention of going back. So in this video, I want to look at some of the reasons why I don't want to go back, and what that means for me in the future. The first of these reasons start...
Hold on, before we do that, I actually want to see people's... I want a pre-experienced, volume up a little. Yeah, we'll do that. My bad. Quick question. How many people right now are actively using Copilot? A lot of like a shockingly large amount of zeros. Can I invert this question really quickly? Or what's a takeaway I'm taking right now from this question? I think one of the things that I'm kind of taking away right now is that how much money is currently still on the table for Microsoft and Copilot? Damn, do I need to buy Microsoft stock? Is that what we're seeing here, boys? Are we seeing an investment opportunity? All right, let me do a poll. I'll do a poll. I think I have the worst takeaways of all time. Are you using Copilot? Yes, no. And then I'm going to put on here, no, cannot afford. No, because I don't want it, right? No reason, right? It's just no reason / other, right? There you go. We're gonna really spread out the no's. So you get a couple chances. You get a couple chances to look it up. Well, no, because I don't want it. Like, specifically, I'm not using it because I'm intentionally avoiding it. I want to see how many people are intentionally avoiding Copilot. Students have it for free. Yeah, I know students have it for free. Which, by the way, I do want to say this, and I think this is an incredibly important point. In fact, we're going to tweet this. I'm going to do this right now. Here we go. We're tweeting this. Students having access to Copilot for free is the biggest educational blunder of all time. End post. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Dude, like, there's nothing more important than that initial struggle and kind of getting over it. Just having Copilot take the wheel style, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like, you need that first amount of time, you know what I mean, to really learn. Lovely take. That's a lovely take. Can I get some L takes in here for lovely take? Can I get some lovely takes in here? Thank you. Look at all those L takes. Those all stand for lovely takes, by the way, for those that don't want to. Okay, so we have a lot of people intentionally don't want to. We have a lot of people using it. No for other reasons. I don't know what those other ones, and no for can't afford. Quite a few, not many people. So a lot of it is not for monetary reasons, it looks like. So I figured monetary reasons were going to be one of the primary driving factors in this chat why people don't use Copilot. Like, hey, I don't want to pay $40 a month or whatever it is to use Copilot. But that's actually not the reason. Telemetry seems pretty... how much is Copilot? It's $10 a month? Oh, it's $10? Damn, it's $10? Ain't no way it's going to stick to $10. You know they're doing a loss leader here. You do know that, right? That is like the greatest. That's BS. It's BS. They're loss leadering so hard on Copilot right now just to suck all you dry. Ain't no way. $10 isn't a loss. I don't believe you for a second. Don't believe you for a second. And I fully agree with that take. There's just ain't no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. All right. Okay. So interesting. So everyone's kind of, let's see why.
Starts with some simple advice. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. Ask anyone who's taken a break from weightlifting or playing a musical instrument, and they'll tell you that this advice is pretty sound. This rule isn't ubiquitous, however. Not every skill you have will be lost over time. For example, once you've learned to ride a bike, you'll pretty much have that skill for the rest of your life. However, when it comes to writing code, I'm not sure the same can be said.
Well, absolutely, it can't be said. I mean, it's obvious when you're in the zone and you're using something. I mean, this is why part of me likes the idea, and I do this every now and then. I turn off even my LSP, and I rely purely on my ability to look up the docs and to just like memorize and really have a strong connection with the language. Just because it really does help +1 me overall when you really know something. And so I find that turning off the LSP, turning off all the crutches and doing that, even for just a couple hours, is just like such a huge W overall. The thing that I really like is, where LSPs, the hard part about turning it off is that I just like project navigation and like autocomplete for my own APIs. But it can be very, very nice when you're just like trying to really know the standard by going to the documentation. Then you get exposed to all of them and you can kind of read through them and you just take a little bit more time to discover and like learn your way through. I know that's a little crazy. We don't turn off Go, please. I think that's good. Primogen, I remember when I was younger, I used to write a lot more libraries. That tells me I used to manage scope via segregation instead of magic. There's some wisdom somewhere. There is some wisdom somewhere in that. There's definitely something in there. Going full DHH, I think it's good. I mean, I think it's genuinely good for you to try to learn your stuff. I don't think it's great. Like, I don't think it's something you should be doing at all times, but take a little bit of time, learn it. The thing is that it will never hurt you to memorize something. It can only help you. Yeah, you can always have things look up for you. You can always have things autocomplete for you. But there is mostly there is most certainly a benefit to perusing the docs, to learning what else is available, to understanding all of that. And I know the docs are all within a single place. Oh, a lovely take. Thank you for the lovely take. Anyways, let's keep on going. That's probably one of my more hated takes. I think people genuinely dislike that take. I don't think it's too bad.
Sure, the same can be said. One thing I am sure of, however, is that by using Copilot, it has had an effect on the way I write code. Something I now call the Copilot pause. This is where I would start by typing out a couple of characters of the code I intended. Then I would just stop and wait. What I was waiting for was for Copilot to tell me the code I was about to write, rather than just writing it myself. With Copilot enabled, this behavior wasn't that noticeable, but once I no longer had it, it was much more pronounced.
By the way, dude, this is such a sweet, sweet observation, because when I've turned off Copilot, I realize I pause too. In fact, I just was thinking about that yesterday. I'm like, why am I pausing here? What am I pausing for? Why am I doing that? Like, I'm waiting for Copilot to write self.length. Not for me to write self.length, but I'm waiting for something in the sky to effectively autocomplete for me. Oh man, I'm glad we both had this little experience.
And it got me thinking. Under Copilots, is this what writing code had become? Reviewing AI-generated suggestions instead of using my own brain and writing it myself. To me, this felt very similar to just copy and pasting from Stack Overflow, albeit in a much more efficient way. The thing is, I hadn't done that for a number of years. Not only this, but as soon as I went Copilot cold turkey, it took me a little while to go back to writing code like I did in the BC era. Fortunately, this only lasted for a...
That was pretty good. That was really good. Man, okay. So I'm on like day 2 or 3 right now of not having Copilot, and I've realized the Copilot stops are starting to go away. I'm just starting to write code again. Interesting.
Couple of days, but the experience made me feel like I would eventually lose my skills if I didn't keep them up. So by no longer using Copilot, I'm taking my coding skills back. As well as taking my skills back, there was something else that was happening. I was having fun. If you're anything like me, then you probably enjoy writing code. Maybe a little too much. However, since introducing Copilot into that workflow, it had become a lot less enjoyable. For me, the act of writing code provides a few key experiences. It enables me to learn something new, to be creative, and to solve problems. By using Copilot, I had inadvertently given away some of the gifts that coding gives to me. Now,
Do you guys agree with that statement? I'm not sure I really agree with that one. Like, I never felt like, I guess I never felt like my creativity went down or anything. I actually really enjoyed its boilerplate kind of generation. I think where I kept on doing, I think the Copilot pause is a really, really like awesome observation, and maybe I'll continue to use Copilot in the future. But maybe maybe I'll turn it on and off regularly to kind of like avoid having the Copilot pause, to where the things that are just like clearly like, hey, just go write it yourself. This is such an obvious thing. Remember code snippets? I remember code snippets. Copilot, RSI induced boilerplate. Yeah, I don't know about that. Not autocomplete, but be a few steps ahead of you. I don't think it's a few steps ahead of me. I think using Copilot as a few steps ahead of you is a terrible way to use Copilots. You have to direct it, or else you're. It's just not a fun experience. Do not let Copilot ideate. Let Copilot is an idiot. Exactly. Do not let Copilot generate the ideas. You are the one that generates the ideas. You will write shitty code if you let that happen. I don't think I can agree with that take overall, in the sense that I don't think my love / creativity for programming has changed in any sort of way since using Copilot. At least I don't relate those two things together in any sort of way. Now, I guess I haven't been writing code without Copilot longer than a couple days, and I'm just getting over the pauses. I'm just getting over my addiction problems. And so maybe I will go, oh, wow, I'm actually having a significantly better time. Maybe I'll look in the rearview mirror and actually say, yes, it was doing that to me. But as of right now, I cannot say that is true.
Now, to be fair to Copilot, it's not...
Sorry, one more thing on that one. In fact, I've learned to type incredibly fast and to use Vim more efficient than the average person by leaps and bounds, just so I can get what's in my head into the editor as fast as possible. Because, especially as I work on my projects, I can really, it's just really it is purely almost a function of how fast I can type and get out a lot of these ideas. And so it's just like, I just have to just try to shove it out there. And I found that Copilot does increase that speed, especially when I have to write something for Lua, what's it called? Copy a table. There is no table copy function, so you'd have to write it yourself. And so that's literally just create a table, for loop over the previous one, return out the newly created one. And so if I have to create that function for whatever reason, Copilot just does it really, really fast. And so that's nice. Or like finding, doing a filter across something. It just tends to make it really easy.
It's meant to be about having fun. Its intentions are to increase developer productivity. Although, more on that in a minute. Interestingly enough, however, GitHub's own study into developer productivity and happiness found that Copilot improved developer satisfaction between 60 and 75%, with 3 indicators.
I know we read this. We read this. I'm gonna say something real here, okay? I think it improved a lot of people's reported feeling less frustrating while coding, because the people that it fundamentally improved with are people who are bad at programming. People who never took the time to learn how to program properly. Yeah, I said that. Coding is just the generation of code is not the frustrating part. If you find yourself frustrating from writing code, I think you are a bad programmer. The frustrating part is when you're sitting there and you're stuck on some stupid bug because of just the most asinine, just difficult things that exist out there. Some dumb race condition that is just eating your lunch. That is frustrating. You know what's not frustrating? Writing a for loop. I think it's only frustrating because you just simply are weak at your own programming, right? Sorry. I hate to say this to you. I feel like that one's gonna get. Me in a lot of. Anytime I say you're bad at something, people get really frustrated with that. You don't memorize phone numbers anymore, so why should I know anything about the syntax? Okay, I could just look that up. Yeah, you're right. You could look that up. You're absolutely right, 100%. But that's shitty. I hate to tell you that, but that's a shitty way to live. Post that on TikTok. I'd get demolished on TikTok. TikTok is by far the biggest learned helplessness platform of all time. If you go on TikTok and you say some sort of learned helplessness thing, you will do great. You're like, you know what? I think they should give Copilot to everybody because honestly, to be a good programmer and to not feel frustrated writing code, AI's really just, they just really improve that. And people are like, hell yeah, yeah. Yeah, but if you go on TikTok and you're like, hey, you should learn your tools and your editor and you should get good at typing because, hell, you're going to be doing this for like 40 years. People are like, who is this guy? What is this guy all about? He's coming here and telling us how to live our lives? I think Copilot should be for free. It's like, damn, man. TikTok, you filled with a bunch of soft-ass people on TikTok. Just soft-ass people. All right, let's go. Also, I hate self-reporting. Self-reporting surveys are just honestly, like, real talk. You ask this question and someone's stuck on some stupid bug. You think that question is, you think that answer is going to be different? They've been stuck on a bug for 2 days, right? I mean, this question is like, I hate self-reporting questions. There's no real measurement.
75%, with 3 indicators being less frustration, more fulfillment, and focus on satisfying work. To me, these numbers actually make sense, especially as the experience of using Copilot took me back to when I was a much more junior engineer. When I initially started my software development career, yeah, it was kind of frustrating. A lot of my time was spent dealing with silly issues, such as syntax problems or just a misunderstanding of how a language works. Oftentimes, it would take hours in order to find the problem. The thing is, though, it was a rite of passage. I had to encounter those challenges in order to get better. If instead I had a tool such as Copilot, I doubt I would have faced those problems and then improved. Either way, I fall into the 40% that doesn't feel more enjoyment when using Copilot, and I strongly believe that in order to get really good at something, you have to enjoy it. Speaking of getting good,
I completely agree with that. I think that it's very, very difficult to get good at something you don't enjoy because you're not forced to do it. Like if you were forced to do it, I believe you'd get good at it. I think humans are generally really good at doing anything that they do long enough. But for you to just do something willingly, you really do have to enjoy it. Or else you're going to just try to do the most minimum ass work possible and nothing's going to set into the brain. And it's just going to be like just walking through oil. It's going to be just difficult.
One of the best ways to improve your skills is to be constantly learning. But knowing what to learn and making time for it is sometimes a struggle.
Why is it blipping a little bit? Is the 4K really making it struggle? A hard disagree. Love can be learned. I never said any of those things. Did I say that? No, I said in order to get good at something, like really good at something, I do think you have to enjoy it. Nobody enjoyed, like, deeply the first couple weeks learning to program. It was hard, right? It was hard to say you enjoyed it. Now, maybe you enjoyed the end product and you were completely enamored by the fact that you did something and that kind of helped you. The love was not in the programming, but in the outcome. And then as time went on, you could enjoy the programming because you got good at it. You had a reason to keep on doing it. I'm on your team that you can learn to love something. Okay, no one's saying that. What I'm saying is that I think it's hard to become really good / great at something if you don't love it. Because how are you going to spend your free time doing something? Gosh, a really great here. There's a really great tweet by.
Fortunately, that's where the sponsor of today's video.
We'll get to you, sponsor. We'll get to you. I think her name is what is Madison's sister? What is Madison's sister's name? Okay, Kana. It's Kendall Kana. Randall Konda. Randall. She just said something about a guitar. There you go. I have seriously zero hobbies anymore and just do side projects. I feel so guilty about that, but I'm most excited about side projects. My guitar sits collecting dust. I haven't knitted in a year. Like, look at that. That's so real. Like, when you really love something, you think she's not getting fantastic at her craft. Her hobby became her side projects, and she's become very, very good. Like, if you didn't enjoy it, you'd be playing the guitar because you're going to do what you enjoy, right? You're going to do what you enjoy. So, of course, are you going to get good? You're going to get much better. Screw this. I'm getting a degree in finance. I'm going to sell derivatives. Go do that. It is true. It's a lot of work. I'm not saying it's not great. The nice part is at least you get to enjoy it. Like it's a driving thing. It's an enjoyable thing. Guitar is hard. Yeah, I've probably played about 10,000 hours of guitar. It's probably pretty reasonable for me to say I've played about 10,000 hours of guitar, but I haven't played, though, in the last 8 years. I used to do a lot of guitar playing. a lot. For about 10 years, I played Smoke on the Water. Let's do it. We could do it. We could do it. Serenade Us? Nah, dude, I like I said, I haven't played in so long. I'm just terrible. Terrible. Terrible.
This video, Brilliant.org can help. Brilliant is one of the best ways to learn computer science, math, and data science interactively, and offers bite-sized courses that range across a variety.
Is the bite-sized BYTE?
Of different skill levels and subjects. Given we're talking about Copilot and AI, you can also take advantage of Brilliant to better understand how the technology behind it works by taking the course on how LLMs work. This course will allow you to get hands-on with real language models as you explore how they build vocabulary, choose their next word, and much more. You'll also be able to understand the importance of training data and the role it plays in generating output. Looking at models trained on big tech
Ain't nothing like not having enough training data and overfitting to a smaller subset and then having your Rosenbach function extrapolation be completely incorrect. Am I right, boys? Am I right? Am I right about them Rosenbach functions or what?
text terms and conditions versus those trained on the lyrics of Taylor Swift. So to try everything that Brilliant has to offer, free for 30 days, visit brilliant.org/dreamsofcode or click the link in the description down below. You'll also receive 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. A big thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring this video.
Can I take a second, though? I do want to say something brilliant that I think is really important, and I personally find a little offensive, okay? Why does Einstein have white hair, but a clearly just for men's mustache right here? Like, that mustache does not, the carpet does not match the drapes here, okay? The carpets do not match the drapes, and that just can't happen. Like, I hate to tell you this, but this picture is very jarring experience right now. So you should do something about the mustache, okay? Because it's just not real.
Subscription.
Color theory.
A big thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. The next reason I'm choosing to no longer use Copilot is to do with quality. As I mentioned,
I think this is one of the more fair takes. I think this is most certainly true. I find Copilot, if you allow it to do... All right, I did want to say something about the quality, though. I think that when you lead Copilot, I think there's a huge quality differential between when Copilot leads you versus you leading Copilot. And what I mean by that is that if you just let Copilot kind of write a bunch of code and then you edit it to be what you want, I think it's really, really hard to get good stuff. And I think that you'll just introduce bugs. It is difficult. I don't think it's well thought through. And I don't think that's a good way to use Copilot, because I think that you're not using Copilot. I think that you are the Copilot. But if you invert it and you are not letting Copilot autocomplete till you're at a spot where it's just like it's exactly what you want, and you're only shooting for those you're only shooting for like boilerplate completion, oh man, it's really, really good. And also, second, this is actually one of the really great arguments for using TypeScript return types. If you put a return type in your TypeScript, Copilot drastically completes stuff better. It does a significantly better job by simply putting in and not putting in return types, because it has just more information. And so I think it's really, really good, just if alone for that, to think about your return types. Go Horse mentioned. Anyways, just a thought.
To no longer use Copilot is to do with quality. As I mentioned before, Copilot is meant to be a productivity tool, and in some cases, it does a really good job of achieving that goal. However, I find a lot of the time it makes mistakes, and instead, I'm much more productive when just using a good language server. Not only that, but after time, I found the suggestions that Copilot provided were woefully out of date. When it comes to software development, things change rather rapidly, and documentation that worked for a library maybe 2 years ago can be out of date when applied to the current version.
That's true. So this is when you let Copilot take the wheel. I think that if you let Copilot just generate stuff, it will just simply generate out-of-date stuff that was on it at some point. Because the thing that the context that it doesn't have is that the auto-completion is from a specific version. The one you're on is a different version, therefore you have a different experience, blah, 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 and it comes out with the wrong thing. It's just close enough, right? It's like, oh, we're using Hyper? I can help with Hyper. I know all about Hyper. Hell yeah, I know Hyper, right? Tokyo! For those that are wondering, when I was first learning Rust, Tokyo, and async, man, I'll tell you what, I was screaming Tokyo because it was such a pain in the ass. So if anyone's ever wondering why I yell Tokyo, it's because the amount of times I deadlocked myself using channels and the Rust way of doing things, or having like accidentally cleaning up my receivers and then just having my sender stop. Man, I went hard. I went hard on the Tokyos, and I yelled a lot. Oh, I thought you had a tick. No, I didn't. It's just Tokyo all the way down. It's just I'd scream Tokyo.
This is a fundamental flaw of Copilot, as the data it's been trained on.
I don't think it's a flaw. I think it's not a flaw. It's unfair to say it's a flaw. That is by design how it should work. Meaning the thing has to take the median, like it needs to take the median expectation of what the input is and what the output should be. And that is it's a feature, not a bug. No, a flaw means that it's actually incorrect. I don't think it's incorrect. I think it's actually correct. It's taking what is an accurate representation of how to run how to run a hyper server, but you're on a newer, more bleeding edge version. Therefore, it's a limitation is probably a much better way to put it. It's a limitation. It could be smarter. It could know the version of the libraries. I mean, that's a lot of information it has to store, right? What you're describing is a flaw. I'd call it a limitation. It's a little bit different.
This is a fundamental flaw of Copilot, as the data it's been trained on grows more and more stale. Considering that the two main benefits I got from Copilot were dealing with boilerplate and working with the APIs of a new framework, the fact that these suggestions were often stale meant that I would often have to refer to the documentation anyway. Not only do I anecdotally find that this quality is an issue, research has also been done on the matter, with studies showing that the code AI generates is often having to be rewritten. This, coupled with the fact that I may not
there's like this whole this whole churn of code is getting exponentially faster. I don't know if for those that didn't see this article, it's super interesting, which was they measured for like the last 5 years a couple different factors. One of them is like code that like same line changes have gone drastically up since the inception of Copilot, right? And so they're like this time for a line to change used to be really, really long in the average open source project. And now it's gotten really, really short. And so there's something very interesting about that. Maybe that's like the effect of using more and more JavaScript. I don't know. There's many confounding factors here. I don't want to say that it's just simply the AI's problem, right? Because I don't know if you can just say it's the AI problem, but it most certainly, you can see things are changing quickly. By the way, the dryness, we don't necessarily buy the dryness argument.
Truly understand the code that Copilot generated gives me concern for the future maintainability of the code. Despite these concerns, however, Copilot is still rather good at generating boilerplate. And if it wasn't for this next reason, I could see myself keeping Copilot around just for that task.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is really nice for tests. Tests, I would say that it's shockingly good for tests. Again, that's because you've already written the code, it already has the code analyzed, and you're already starting to write the test, plus you've given it a name and an expectation to what it's supposed to do. I think that gives Copilot like the maximum chance to be really good. Like the more information you can give it, the more precise you can make it, the more narrow what it needs to do, the better it is at it. And I've always found like boilerplate data generation to be just something magical when it comes to Copilot, because it is just so good, or it goes completely off the rails and you're like, yo, Copilot, what the hell you doing to me? Would you go, what the hell you doing to me? Because you sit there and you're like this, call with this data, call with this data, call with this data, call with this data. Then you're like, expect call 1, 2 with the data, expect call 2 with the data, and then it just like, because it's just so narrowly defined. And I think that is so nice. I absolutely love that about Copilot.
Unfortunately, however, there's a big problem with Copilot that I kind of neglected: privacy. If you know my content, then you know that I'm into self-hosting, open source, and privacy. Copilot is pretty antithetical to all of these, and none more so than privacy. As you use it, it constantly sends up snippets of your code up to a remote server. To make matters worse, if you're on the individual plan, then these code snippets are saved by default, unless you've explicitly opted out. For me, this is kind of unacceptable, but it was the last nail in the Copilot coffin that I needed. So with Copilot no longer installed, what am I going to use next? Well, nothing yet. I'm probably going to take a break from AI for a little while, before maybe looking at some open source models that I can self-host. If that's something of interest, then let me know in the comments down below.
It's a pretty interesting take. I wonder, the only reason why I'm kind of challenging a little bit of what he's saying is that he also says he's into open source. So like, if you're writing open source, does it matter, right? Does it matter at all? right? I don't think it matters. If you're writing private stuff, like I understand the quote unquote fear. I'm still not 100% purchased that it's actually a problem, right? Why do you think he writes open source? Well, he just says that his big three things are, I mean, I'm just basing it on what he just said. His big three things are open source, privacy, and self-hosting. So one would assume that he's writing some open source if open source is one of the three things that define what he's doing. I don't know if I want to say I don't buy the privacy part. The reason why I say I don't buy the privacy part is that I wonder how much it can actually, like what can it stitch together from the snippets that it sends up that is of any importance, right? To me, it kind of feels like you'd almost need to directly and intentionally try to take all these snippets and changes over time, which are coming in at a pretty fast rate, and to actually like take that and try to make, like you'd have to have like individual intervention. And maybe it's not even possible. I'm not sure. Doesn't it check your entire code base? No, it doesn't check your entire code base. I'm like pretty quite certain. Now, like at a future date when it can handle enough tokens, I mean, imagine if you have 10,000 lines of code in a project, even that, which is not a big project, by the way. That's a pretty small project. With VS Code, it does. I'm not sure if I purchased that. I don't think it does that, right? Because there's this whole token problem of how big it can be. Plus, it's trying to work in, I mean, it's also $10 a month. It's usually just the current file, and I think it's been upgraded to the current file plus some level of history, right? There's a little bit of history to it in which it also has little bits. It grabs bits of information. I don't believe I'm like 99% positive it doesn't do the whole thing. But $10 a month, $10? How do you have hours of time to code and you can't afford $10 a month? Right? But I mean, okay, so how about this one? Instead of arguing how much or how little information Copilot stores, the real question is this truly a privacy concern? Yes or no? So whether it stores a little bit or a lot of it, I think we can take a step back and just like look at it in a more holistic thing. I do get the idea that if I were writing software for me that I did not want people to see, I can see why you wouldn't want Copilot or telemetry in general, right? This is just like more of a generalized telemetry question. Like if we were to take a step back and say, do you want this or not? The thing that I see that I don't like about it is that every time you accept or don't accept a prompt from the LLMs, in some sense, you are training it, right? I'm sure it's keeping some sort of score, and at some point, some of these things are being fed back into it as a way to learn what is a good prompt versus what is a bad prompt. So in some way, just like, all those CAPTCHAs we filled out, we are literally just training ourselves to be irrelevant. We're training the AIs to be irrelevant, or for us to be irrelevant. It's an interesting concept, and do you think that you should share that wisdom/knowledge with a robot because you don't want to? I can see it go both ways. Like, I love the idea of a future where I can program even faster. And if an AI is really good at generating good boilerplate/good suggestions, then I can see myself liking that. But at the same time, do I like the fact that my work and my effort to build all this stuff and to pay money for this autocomplete tool is the reason why it gets better? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. The privacy thing I still have a hard time with because I don't really know. I don't know. I like the option that I don't have to. I would love to see a Copilot version that's like, hey, the privacy concerned version of Copilot. Here's Copilot in which we keep no data. It's less effective. It's less all these things. And here you go. Here's the privacy-friendly one. It costs more money, right? This one is more and more money because due to the fact that we have to process more, blah, 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 blah. Here you go. I think a lot of people would appreciate that. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on it, though. I really don't because I have a strong opinion about preserving privacy. So I totally will never argue someone who does that. I think it's dumb to argue with somebody that they shouldn't be concerned about it. I think he's perfectly valid in being concerned about it because he should be. Because everybody should be concerned at some level about privacy, whether or not you have anything to hide.
I'm taking a break from using AI mainly because we're in one of the biggest hype cycles I've ever seen, and I'm both fatigued and slightly underwhelmed. But who knows? Maybe I'm just nostalgic for a more simple era of writing code. And by taking AI out of my editor, I'm just living in the past.
liked. I really liked that ending. Is this just disillusionment? Is he really just deluding himself to thinking that is he really just thinking that the past is better? You know, the eternal past is always better, which is, you know, it's as easy as a mistake to say that the present is the best. I have nothing to hide. I just don't want to help billionaires get richer. Okay. Bro stuck playing WoW Classic. WoW Classic is objectively better than retail WoW. So sometimes the past can be better. Okay. Sometimes the past actually can be better. All right. First W take. Come on. That was the most true statement ever. Yeah. Yeah. Wrath of the Lich King Saddies. Retail WoW is crazy. Anyways, hey, I like that video. I really felt that the Copilot pause is a real thing. For everybody that's using Copilot, try turning it off for a moment and just feel that Copilot pause. It's a real thing. You don't realize how much you've trained yourself to think a certain way. It's very, very shocking once you do that and you're like, oh man, I am pausing a lot. Maybe I got to take a step back here. Anyways, the name is, I really liked that video. That was a good video. Go like it. It was very, very good. Very good.